Okay, so you're thinking about moving to Milwaukee, but you're not even sure where to start? Let me invite you to a Milwaukee Discovery Weekend. Moving to a new city can feel quite overwhelming. I do know that from personal experience because when I moved here to Milwaukee back in 2008 for a corporate job, I had to learn the whole city from scratch. And it was a little bit overwhelming. So I ended up asking all my coworkers for their personal advice, but nobody could give me really the big picture. One of my coworkers recommended Sussex, and that is a suburb on the west side of Milwaukee. And I asked her why Sussex, and she said, it's really awesome, we live here, we really enjoy the lifestyle. So I trusted her, asked her for an agent recommendation, looked at a few houses, and ended up buying a home in Sussex. In hindsight, I have to say that was probably a mistake. It's more of a family-friendly neighborhood, and I would have probably been happier at the time if I would have moved to downtown. But yeah, I didn't have anybody really guiding me around in the process, so that's what I did. So I had a pretty rocky start here in Milwaukee. I ended up buying and selling 3 different properties before I actually ended up where I'm living today. And there's a longer story here, but the important part is you don't know what you don't know, and it is really helpful to having somebody guiding you through the process. I'll also never forget what it's like being the client in a transaction, being on the other side of the transaction. I worked with several agents and some were okay, but I never found a really great one, and that experience is what drives me today. I'll try to be that agent that I wish I'd had, but I digress. Back to you and your relocation plans. So of course, over the last 10 years, I've worked with a lot of relocation clients and made a lot of Milwaukee neighborhood videos. You've probably seen a few here on my YouTube channel. I always try to make those videos as realistic as possible, so when you actually get here and you see the neighborhoods in person, you're like, yep, that's exactly what I thought it would look like. Full disclosure, I try to shoot most of my videos on nice sunny days like it is today. We do actually have rain here sometimes. It was overcast today. So it's not always sunny, but it's certainly nice when it is. So feel free to look through my collection of Milwaukee neighborhood videos. At this point, they're covering all of the major neighborhoods, and you can get a really good impression on what Milwaukee and the Milwaukee suburbs actually look like. And you can do a lot of research online, but at the end of the day, the really big questions when you're moving to a new city, in my opinion, have to be answered in person. And those are, which neighborhoods should I actually be considering? What does it actually feel like being in that neighborhood for you in your heart? And then what are some of the things you don't know? How do you know you're not overlooking something? And that is the reason why I would like to invite you to join me here for a Milwaukee Discovery Weekend. Oh man, look at this, never gets old. When I start planning your Discovery Weekend, we start out with me asking you a bunch of questions so I can really understand your lifestyle preferences. For example, do you prefer urban versus suburban living, or do you want to live downtown? How big of a home are you looking for? Do you prefer older homes in a charming neighborhood, or do you like mid-century, or do you prefer new construction? What about yard size? Big yard necessary, or is a small yard okay? School district, if you have kids, is that a criteria? And of course, budget range. So based off those hard criteria, we can usually eliminate a lot of neighborhoods in the Milwaukee area, and we end up with the short list. And based on your short list, I can start planning your Discovery Weekend here in Milwaukee. With proper planning, 2 days are actually enough time to get an overview and gain clarity over the neighborhoods that you want to see. Most clients fly in here on Friday night and we have them back at the airport by Sunday afternoon. So a weekend is enough. If you have an extra day, it certainly doesn't hurt. But we have done this literally with over 100 clients, and 2 days are usually enough time to see what you need to see. Most clients prefer a combination of self-guided and guided tours. So usually we kick it off with a meeting, and then you embark on your self-guided tour that we put together based on your neighborhood shortlist, and it contains very detailed GPS waypoints, so you just follow those waypoints around and you can discover the neighborhoods at your own pace. And what this does, it makes sure that you're not missing any of the highlights and you really get a good overview of all the neighborhoods. And then for the guided tour, of course, we also include showings of some homes, so you can set foot into some properties and know what they actually look like on the inside. And I really like meeting with clients at least twice over that weekend, because what I found is that on the second day, after touring some neighborhoods and getting some additional context, I get a lot deeper questions we can dive into. This is just a basic outline, and we usually end up customizing it for the client, but the objective is always the same. And that is clarity, figuring out what neighborhoods speak to you, what gets you excited, and that is just something that we cannot do on a video. So you have to come here in person. And the goal is always to get clarity on these things. I actually have a really good story about that. Last year, I helped a client to move here to Milwaukee from Seattle. And she told me on a Zoom call before that she was looking for a mature neighborhood and an older house with charm. So we have a lot of those from the 1920s. And when she got to Milwaukee, we looked at a few of those and we went through the things that are necessary in terms of updating and remodeling. Older houses usually require quite a bit of work. And she was looking at it and she's like, yeah, this is exactly like my home in Seattle, and we know it's a lot of work, I've been through it, so maybe we should be looking at some new construction. So I took her to one of my favorite subdivisions and we walked into a new construction home, and I just looked at her and I said, you know what? You don't even have to tell me this is just not right for you. And she was a little bit embarrassed. She said, sorry, we've been wasting the time here. And I said, no, absolutely not. We gained something very valuable, and that is clarity. We know now what you absolutely not want. So a couple of months later, we found a really charming older home in a quaint neighborhood in Wauwatosa for her. It was a really good fit. She was really excited about that. And by the way, you can read that story online. She wrote a 5-star Google review about her experience. And that is really the whole point of Discovery Weekend. When you're moving to a city you don't know, committing to a neighborhood is a really big decision and you don't want to rush into it. So that's why we want to be very systematically and figure out which neighborhood feels right to you, what is the right size and type of home for you, and what gets you excited. And we're doing this in order to lay the foundation so you can feel prepared and confident before you actually start shopping for a home. So if Milwaukee is on your radar, consider spending a weekend with us here in the area. We'll go check out some neighborhoods, tour a few homes, and help you figure out what your lifestyle in Milwaukee is going to be. We have a whole ecosystem here ready for you and a lot of resources. For example, you can download our brand new 3rd edition 51-page relocation guide on our website. That's onpointrg.com. That has a lot of details about the Milwaukee area, different neighborhoods, cost of living, what the weather and the climate is like, and a lot of other interesting information. You can download that for free at onpointrg.com, or you can just comment Discovery Weekend here below in the comments and I'll get back to you with the details. That's all I had for you today, and I'll see you here in Milwaukee.